color pencil again, and we are going to render a peach. A peach is actually quite furry, so it's a little bit difficult to render to get the effect of a furry surface. So today we're going to use a few colors to layer on top of each other. First of all, I've already drawn the peach, the shape of the peach, with a few dotted lines to show the highlights and where you shouldn't be rendering. All right, and as usual, we are going to test the colors first. Take note that we are going to layer a few colors together. So I've labeled it on the paper: first layer, second layer, third layer, and the finishing touches. So you may want to write that down on the piece of paper, and you can write it down below so that it doesn't affect your rendering. Now, the finished product should look something like that. Okay, the finished product should look something like that. As you can see, it's layered with different color pencils, and it looks really, really furry, right? The method that you use for this is quite different from the apple rendering, where it looks shiny and glossy. First, we are going to test the colors on the color palette here. The first layer we are going to use is somewhat like a magenta red color. I'm going to test it here. Next, we are going to layer it with the second layer, which gives it the orangey tone, an orange color. Next, we are going to use lemon yellow for the highlights. As you can see from here, the lemon highlights. So it gives us a illuminated feel, all right? Then, very interestingly, we are going to put on the finishing touches. Now, if you take a look at this picture, you may not see the blue that was used around here. I will zoom in a little bit for you to see. All right, there's a kind of a bluish indigo blue here. And we are also going to use pink for some of the areas here and here. For the brownish tones here, we're going to use this brown. It's a reddish brown. And last but not least, for the shadows, we are going to use black. And there you go. We have the palette ready. Alright, for clarity, I have zoomed in so you can see a lot better. And I'm going to use the first layer color, which is the magenta. Alright, the magenta. Okay, now we are going to avoid all these highlights using the dotted line. And we're going to render in a circular, soft and light pressure. So apply very, very, very light pressure and in a circular motion. Right? This is the first layer. Carefully just glide your color pencil over. Now is very, very, very light. Rendering that I'm doing here, almost unable to see any strokes. This will give you the very soft feel of the peach. After the first layer is done, it should look something like that. It's you can see that I've used this part of the color pencil. Let me see. Okay, you can use this part of the color pencil to shade, to cover a bigger surface area, and it should be quite even right now. We're going to add a second layer, focusing on here, 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 and here, and also the core part. Okay, so we're gonna add a layer almost like a monochromatic shading using this magenta color. So you should end up with something like this, with certain areas darker than others in a monochromatic fashion. So you only use one color pencil and you shade a little bit darker on these areas. I have paused the video. You can pause the video, or I have already included a still shot of the peach at this stage. So you can either pause it and look at it complete until this stage. Now here comes the exciting part. We are going to apply the color orange, our second layer. Let's take a look. The second layer. Now when you add this, it will become a lot more peachy. The color will turn into a brownish orangey tone. Again, you're gonna render very, very lightly at certain areas only. Okay. Now it's important to actually avoid the highlights. And as you can see, as you layer another color over it, it becomes a lot more realistic. Again, I'm going to maximize the use of this area of the color pencil because it's the biggest area and you don't feel so tired, and you also can have a lighter control, right? You can either grip it this way, all right, or this way, all right? It's up to you, whichever that you're more comfortable in. Okay. Very, very lightly. This exercise really trains you in applying in a very light pressure. you realize that if you apply it you start to get impatient and you apply it and press very hard, then it'll be a little bit difficult to achieve the soft feel and the furry feel of the peach. So it's a great exercise to learn how to layer colors. This is the result of layering it with orange. Now if you take a look at the original here, there's still a lot of layering to be done, and we are going to now apply these lemon orange highlights. So focus on these few parts here, 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 again at every stage I'm just gonna pause. I can pause the video, or I'm just gonna give you a screenshot of what that stage should look like. Throughout the whole exercise, I want to emphasize that sometimes you might think that it looks a little bit ugly, it doesn't look finished yet. It's okay, it's perfectly okay. Remember, the success to a good piece of color pencil rendering is really to layer it and to keep on going. This is how it should look like after you have put the color for yellow color for highlights, the lemon yellow. Now already it's looking a lot more illuminated. Now here comes the exciting part. We're gonna put the colors, the finishing touches, indigo blue, pink and brown. Okay, so taking reference to the example here, we're going to start shading and layering the finishing touches, which really gives it the feel of a peach. We're going to start with some areas on the indigo in the center. Interesting enough, although it's blue, it gives you a slightly brownish tone when you're layering it. For this area, you got to be very gentle, because a little goes a long way. And right now we'll have to interchange our colors quite a bit between the indigo, the brown, and also the black and the pink. So we applied most of the finishing touches using brown, shading the dark areas and making it a lot more softer and especially this area where the stalk and the stem is. Okay, so right now what we need is to have a shadow. Now in order to know where the shadow is, you're gonna take a look at where the light source is. Yeah, so it's quite obvious that the light source is here. So we're gonna make sure that it's highlighted. So the rest of the areas you want to really just make it less obvious. Also because the furry surface will not be able to reflect light as much. So actually they don't need to be white. Only the area around here, maybe you want to leave it as white, but the rest you don't have to. We're going to very quickly map out if the light is shining here, we're going to map out the shadows very quickly here using orange. Okay. And the likelihood is we're just going to keep it soft. Like so. And then we're going to layer it with brown and black. Now adding a shadow will make the peach look even more 3D than it already is. Now you realize I've left a little bit of highlight here because of the light reflecting from the table. So keep in mind that that is always the case. We're just going to very gently feather out.